And we are here for a very special, fun interview, something a little different, something a little out of the box. We're here to promote a new professional wrestling organization starting out in Edmonton, Black Hole Pro Wrestling. I'm here with Eli Surge and the entity himself, the Black Hole Pro guy. He's down there. You can see him, I think. He's around. How are we doing?
We're fantastic.
I'm doing pretty good. I can barely see the entity, but we're here.
I can barely. He's faded into the darkness. Eli, I'm very familiar with you. Very familiar with your work. I've seen you wrestle a ton of times over the years. I've been fortunate enough to call some of your matches at WrestleCore recently. You guys have pro in your name. I'm saying WrestlePro. I meant to say WrestleCore. But yeah, what's going on? How are you guys doing? What is the inception about having the first wrestling show at Union Hall in over a decade and Black Hole Pro Wrestling? What was your guys' thought process behind it?
So Black Hole Pro, the name itself comes from I wanted to run a show in Vancouver when I lived there.
Yeah.
I mean, Vancouver is known as the Black Hole of professional wrestling, the Pacific Northwest in general.
It is, yeah.
So I kind of thought it was a fun tongue-in-cheek thing, and then I also like darker, kind of grittier wrestling. I have no problem with a gym that's got the neon lights on because everyone's got to work somewhere, but I prefer something that's dark. It's a little bit different, like smoke-filled, small like bar with cool lights and cool entrances and stuff. That's kind of my vibe. So I felt that kind of fit with there, and we found a spot in Union Hall in Edmonton here that is very open to helping us set up all the crazy ideas that we have in mind, and hopefully all of those will come to fruition. But we looked to find a spot that's going to look different on film, that's going to feel different when you're there in person. And we noticed that also since the last time wrestling was there, Union Hall has done a big overhaul. So it's completely different. Like if you look at photos from those shows versus what we're going to have, it will be a completely different look. It will be unique. There is a balcony there. I can't legally encourage people to jump off of it. In fact, I legally have to discourage that. But I have a great picture in my mind of that balcony filled with people and the ground floor filled with people, and just putting on something that's going to be unique. And hopefully very cool.
You know, I have to ask you about the scene in Edmonton because, like you said, I know Vancouver has been considered the Black Hole professional wrestling in the Pacific Northwest. I've interviewed enough wrestlers that either came out of here or came through here, and I was like, I need to get out of here to get noticed. There's a lot of cool stuff happening these days post-pandemic. I mean, there was this little... I know there's a company called Boom, but like there was a boom here in Vancouver a little bit after the pandemic with Boom and WrestleCore and Canadian Apex, and obviously ASW is still doing its thing, and there's all these different companies here that are doing different things. NEW was like the sports-based wrestling company. What is the scene like in Edmonton? Because I actually have no idea. I feel like I know one company that's out there, but I don't want to butcher it. But what's the scene like in Edmonton?
There's 4 companies that run here regularly. There's Love Pro Wrestling, Top Talent, Monster Pro, and Real Canadian Wrestling.
Okay.
And Love Pro runs the last Friday of every month. Real Canadian runs at least once a month or sometimes twice a month in Edmonton. I think they have 2 shows this month, plus they're doing stuff with fairs around. Monster Pro is doing every 3-4 weeks. So there's a regular scene, but it definitely is hard because if you say you're wrestling in or around Edmonton, people are like, oh, I know Stampede Wrestling, and there's not quite that connect there that there once was.
Yeah, I mean, it's been decades since Stampede Wrestling has been a thing. Obviously, there's Dungeon, but it's crazy how quickly people are to assume that Calgary and Edmonton are just like super, super close to each other. Or if you say you're from Canada, I had the people at TNA reach out to me and be like, "Hey, are you gonna be at the tapings this weekend?" I'm like, "I'm on the other coast. We don't all just live in Toronto. That's not how this works because I'm Canadian." But that's cool. That's cool that you guys are bringing more wrestling to that scene and a different style. How important is it to bring something different? Because I don't know a lot of the wrestling companies in Edmonton, but I'll say about the wrestling companies here is I like the fact that every single company here bring something different. Like I said, NEW is a sports, WrestleCore is like the underground indie wrestling show, and Boom's like characters and storylines, and it's kind of bubbly and fun, and you have to follow the story. ASW is that old school wrestling company that's been here, which seems like forever ever, working the rodeo and whatnot. So like, what's gonna make Blackpool Pro Wrestling stand out? Black Hole Pro Wrestling stand out in Edmonton compared to the other promotions?
I'll let the answer
We are
this
running
first.
a event that is fully 18 plus. We want it to be something that is a little gorier, a little scarier, a little more violent. Like, we're all familiar with the very family friendly product that is out there, but this is fighting for fighting's sake. There is no gods, there is no masters, there is no stars. This is just fighting for the sake of fighting.
Yeah, and like we're not throwing shade on anyone else. We're not trying to stir drama. We just wanted to do something cool, something a little bit different. And June 20th is our first, maybe only show. Who knows? We'll see how it goes and see the reaction to it. But you're talking about the different types of companies in Vancouver, and like, yeah, we want to be darker. We want to be grittier. We want to be closer, probably to maybe closer to something like a Defy or a Prestige in the States, maybe. Trying to have a few more names, but also boost up the local people. Like, we don't want to run a show that's all fly-in talent by any means.
Yeah.
That's just wasting everyone that's here. So we want to definitely spotlight people that are in Edmonton by bringing in people who are from outside of Edmonton and have eyes from their audience. And I think that'll benefit the scene as a whole. But I've been lucky enough to travel a bunch. I've been in pretty much every promotion that you listed there in Vancouver and all over the place. So I've picked up little aspects from everywhere I've been. And I'm trying to bring all of those together as a whole, as to try to create the best experience for a fan and the best experience for a worker.
And I like the fact that you brought up the Defies and the Prestige of the United States and the Washington area, because I feel like we have a ton of great companies here, but the more every company rise, we'll have more places where talent here can get noticed and recognized, and it doesn't need to be the black hole of professional wrestling.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're on the rise with that across Canada in terms of what's happening in Vancouver, what you guys are bringing to Edmonton. And once again, like you said, no shade or anything, but like, when you come into a market, it's not about fitting in. It's about standing out and doing something different. I think that's what you guys are doing. And then we got things like Maple Leaf out in Toronto, which can be a big deal for everybody. So it's super cool. Let me ask you this, because talking about being darker, grittier, a little bit more on edgier, you guys are main eventing the first show with a women's death match with Tara Zepp and Ludark. Is it Ludark Shelton from Mexico? What was the idea of putting this match together, and why did you feel like the first show should be ending with a death match? And what is your guys' background of death match wrestling?
I mean, my experience in deathmatch is few and far between, but this is something that's going to get everybody excited and bring something new to the table. And whether you are a 20-year mark where you just love watching the product and you've never gotten to experience something like this, it's going to be new for you. If you've never been introduced to wrestling at all, this might be the one thing that gets you over the top, committed to it. And then next thing you know, you're watching the product every week and you're going out to more and more shows. It's also an opportunity to really show a lot of female talent that I feel like does fall by the wayside through a lot of it all. And I know obviously we're at the point where with Penta being on the main roster now, we're showing clips of Penta and Chelsea Green at Lucha Underground, and like that's something that nobody really knew outside of diehard fans, and this is just kind of opening the door to that to help grow it in itself.
Yeah.
And like, I personally drew a lot of inspiration from No Fate in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And the first main event of that show was Tara versus Jimmy Lloyd in a death match, and that was sold as, like, the show itself was kind of sold as a more death match grungy setup, and they sold out in downtown Vancouver on a Sunday night, and that just seemed mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
I wanted to take, honestly, I'm trying to borrow a little bit of that valor by having Tara as part of our main event in a death match with Lou Dark, who is someone who has been up into Canada before, but it's been a minute and has traveled around extensively. She's been in pretty much every promotion you've ever heard of in Mexico. She's been featured in IWA Mid-South in the States with deathmatch stuff. She was actually, I think, at the beginning of this year over in Japan. So she's a very well-traveled professional, and I'm very excited to have her up here and see her work in person. And I think when we sat down, like something that we felt would be an easy way to stand out would be a female main event. And I think that that's just, you know, we took a whole bunch of different flavors and we ended up with, you know, the female death match. And I think it's going to be something unlike anyone around here has really ever seen.
Yeah, because No Fate, like, not like there hasn't been death matches. I was actually at that No Fate, the first show. I was doing commentary for that as well. And it was just like a great combination of wrestling. The whole thing wasn't death matches, which I think a lot of people assumed it was going to be. It was like there was a lot of solid wrestling on the show. I remember that tag match with Miles and I forgot who he was teaming with. I think it was
against
Sinner and Saint, but it was
Miles with Evan Rivers.
He was Evan Rivers because Artemis couldn't make it. That's what it was. I was like, he was teaming with Artemis, but no, it was Evan Rivers because Artemis couldn't make it. And it was like a banger tag team match, but you ended it with a tag match. So that leaves me asking you guys. I know the full card might not be planned out yet in your guys' minds and whatnot, but are you looking to have a little bit of a variety and a buffet of types of wrestling on the show?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to go on this one first? Or you want me to start?
I can. I know what we've got planned is like a whole. When we started sitting down and booking the show, and we went through, you know, who we wanted as local talent first, it made a lot of sense to figure out, you know, who's good at what, where are they going to thrive, and so we found our core, which I think we said it's 5 core, like local wrestlers.
Yeah.
And then from that point on, it was, okay, who can we bring in to really help complement each other and make these matches cool and over the top? And, you know, I think it's what we're going to have: singles matches, tag matches, the obvious death match that's going to be its own beast of itself. And then on top of that, like, I think we've got maybe one more stipulation match planned. We're still ironing out details on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as someone who's been on a card, I'm very aware of planning how that goes, and knowing that, like, if we put 4 single matches back to back, I mean, they can all be bangers, but it's nice to have some variety in there. So we do have a 4-way. We have our tag match. We have our death match, and we do have a singles match that will have a stipulation outside of the one that was mentioned as a maybe before, and that will be Alan Angels versus Elliot Tyler, and Alan is defending the Prestige Championship.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Yeah. No, but the names that you've shared with me already, and this will probably drop closer to the date. Like, you have the Short Kings, you have Taryn from Accounting, Liza Hall, Elliot Tyler, which, you know, the 3 that I just named right now, I'm very familiar with out here from the Vancouver scene. I'm well aware of KPK from Battle Arts out in Toronto. I know those boys; they're great. I hung out with them when I was in Toronto, and I've seen them here and there. But there's some names like Nate Nixon, Cody Garcia, Clay Wilson, El Electro. I'm not really familiar with these people, but I think after the show I will be, because of you guys, which is cool that you're bringing this like mesh pot of talent from across Canada all in one place, and that's something that's super cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the card, you know, pans out and how everything looks like when it's all said and done. Let me ask you this: you guys both obviously have a background in traveling, touring. Entity, you are in music. You have a music background that I know about, and Eli, obviously you have the wrestling background. So let me ask both of you one by one: what are some things you guys have taken from your experience being at shows, based off the audience and your feeling at shows, that you're like, okay, well, I've done this and I was in this place and had this vibe. I want that to be part of Black Hole Pro Wrestling. What are like 3 things each that you guys are like, this needs to be part of what we're doing if we're going to do it?
My big 3, and the first one actually isn't so much outward facing as it is inward, is we really want to make sure our roster is taken care of. And I mean, that's everything down from we're making sure that they're fed, that there's water backstage. There is 2 separate green rooms. There's showers backstage. Like, we really want everybody to feel excited to come back and do another show if this is as successful as we're planning, because there's nothing worse than like you're being done performing and you get back and you're in a janitor's closet with 9 other people trying to figure out your life. It just doesn't work well. So we wanted somewhere that's going to have space and have production and have amenities that just really helps the talent feel appreciated. The other 2 for me are, I want something that's going to be just so memorable, whether it be the photos and the videos. Like, we want the show to look incredible, and marketable isn't the right word, but just something that everybody, I want, like, if you weren't there and you see these photos and you see these videos and you go, ah, shit, I want to do that. I want to be there for the next one, and really bring not just our own brand, but wrestling in this part of the country and the world up, and make them realize that this isn't something that has to be done in VFW over and over and over. And the other one, man, like, I want people to have fun with this. The big reason I was an advocate for this being an 18-up show is, like, I want standing room. I want people screaming and yelling and, you know, just really, really, really excited to see people beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah. How about you, Eli?
Yeah, I mean, when I went more full-time wrestler, I had a list of things that I looked at as a performer to take me to places, and that was wherever I was going had to meet some of those, and that was either it had to have good pictures and video, it had to have a cool opponent for me, it had to be a place I'd never been, or a promotion I'd never been, or honestly, it was just a cool vibe that I wanted to return to, kind of thing. So I've come across a lot of spots as a performer that I'm taken from. Like, I know when I'm in Winnipeg, they take care of the performers by making sure there's food there, provided by their sponsors, I believe. But it's like just that, yeah, something so little as that is great. Making, like, I've been to places where either there's no photos, the photos you are so bad you don't want to post, or you have to track down photos and go through a person and then a password and then an email, and then
Yeah.
four photos from your match, and they're all of your backside. So I've been through stuff like that with photos. I've it's like mentioned before, really just taking care of the wrestlers is my biggest thing. And yeah, like there's people betting on themselves with this show the way that we are, and we want to make sure they're comfortable. So like we're just doing the best we can with that. And then as far as a fan experience, we did get a little kickback at the beginning when we launched, and honestly, we didn't think about how there'd be fees on top of the prices that we set. So there was some talk of prices, and we lowered those to make it more fan friendly. And we are like, we have a bunch of ideas as far as how we will present pretty much everything outside of the wrestling itself. And so we're very hopeful to get those in place for the first show. And if not, hopefully for a future show. And I think that will make us stand out to the both the people in attendance and the people backstage. And then, I just want to be different.
Yeah.
I like you mentioned WrestleCore. There's a vibe at WrestleCore that's different than anywhere else. And it's like, yeah, there's the standing, you have the seats around the ring, but then you have the standing room behind that, and the far back seats, and the stage entrance. So we're taking some stuff from that. We're like, I mean, we're taking some stuff from Mystery. We're taking some stuff from like the bigger independents in the States. We're taking everything we think we can bring together for one show to make it the best we can, and trying to offer that in in a time span of 2.5 hours. It's taking us 5 months to put together.
Yeah. So to you, Entity, I have to ask you really quickly, like, how important was it for you to make sure that it was a 19+ show? Because I do see the difference in a family-friendly show and an 18+ show. My bad. Yeah.
I mean, for multiple reasons, we kind of vouched on it. I know, like, working wrestling shows here and going to indie shows here and all that, like, yeah, the all ages and family friendly stuff is kind of cool, but like, it's the ability to letting wrestlers cut loose a little bit more, swear a little more, and like, obviously, I wouldn't be comfortable running a death match with children in the room.
For sure, 100%. Yeah.
And like, knowing that we really, really, really wanted to have something that was going to be breathtaking, pretty much, with that was the big finish on why we should do an 18-up show. It also, I mean, we've got a beer sponsor for it, which again,
Yeah.
appropriate having children at the show. That's just a personal preference on that.
Yeah.
But, no,
from a fan perspective, I just always found, though, like, I've been to the family friendly shows and they're great and they're fantastic and you get your regular crowd and the excited kids, but I've been to the 18 plus shows and you get that louder, more rowdy crowd. And and if I was in your guys' shoes, I think I just want that louder, more rowdy crowd because it just adds a little bit more to the show. Like, I remember talking to some promoters in Vancouver, and I'm gonna leave names out of this, and I was putting over the Defy crowd and like how they're so loud and they do all the chants and they do everything, and they're like, oh, that's just a marquee crowd. And in my head, I'm like, but you want that. Like, you know what I mean? So,
it adds to the show. It adds to the
yeah.
energy. And like, I've been asked a couple of times what my favorite venues are to perform in, and Washington Hall in Seattle for Defy is, if not number one, pretty close.
Yeah.
Because before you even go through the curtain, before music starts playing, before the show starts, there's a buzz, there's a vibe.
There is.
And when Miggs goes out there and he introduces it, and he's like, you know, he gives the rules. If there's someone coming at you, and then he stops, and the crowd says, "Get the fuck out of the way," and he's like, goes through all the steps, and then he's like, we at Defy, we do this thing, and it is, and the crowd goes, we get loud.
Yeah.
So that, like, to spurt, like, I'm blanking on a proper word here, sorry, but to like have an environment like that it just breeds energy that is not only going to make it more fun for the people in attendance, but also, yeah, feed into the energy of the wrestlers, because there's nothing worse than hitting a super dangerous top rope move and the crowd goes,
yeah, you're not getting that adrenaline from them.
Yeah, you don't want to lay there with your whole body aching. You've spent 8 hours traveling to this show. You have to get on a 6 a.m. flight tomorrow, and the crowd's like, nice one, bud.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I also just like, you know, with the beer sponsor, which is a great thing to have, I've also found, like, and this is just my perspective, I could be wrong, tell me if I'm wrong, obviously you've been doing it longer than I have, but I've been to Washington Hall, I've been to the shows in Vancouver, I've been to shows in Calgary and Toronto, and my whole situation, and all over the States, but my whole thing is, like, when you have alcohol at a wrestling show, what it provides to some people is, like, you're not just going to get just wrestling fans. It's a night out for people because they can drink and they can enjoy wrestling. They might not even be the biggest wrestling fans, but they will become wrestling fans because someone dragged them there, convinced them, like, don't worry, there's beer there, we'll still have fun. Maybe it's something they do before they actually go out to a club or something, but they come to the wrestling show first. And it's just like, you start bringing in this fan base that, like, might not be the biggest group of wrestling fans, but it's an outing for them and it's fun, you know, and it just adds to the atmosphere because they're still so innocent to wrestling. Like, everything is like, they might talk crap on that home, but then they come see and they're like, whoa, that was actually, like, so cool and so much fun. Like,
and wrestling is so different in person than it is on TV. And yeah, like, the way you talk about that, I mean, I'll drop the names. Boom in Vancouver. Most of that crowd doesn't go to any other wrestling show.
Yeah.
So, like, if you can find your people,
and they got their $4 beers,
and they got their $4 beers,
yeah.
Unless they're doing the match where every pinfall the price change, and then it could be a $5 or $6 beer, or it could be a $2 beer.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you find, like, we're trying to find people, not obviously the wrestling fans we want.
Oh, no, for sure. But they're gonna come regardless. You know what I mean? Like, they're more likely to come, whether it's booze, not booze, if there's a wrestler that they like, if they're fans of you, but to bring in these fans that may not be wrestling fans, but will get excited in a different way. I think that's where it helps, you know?
And we looked at a lot of different options to try to make it more appealing to the outside eye. Unfortunately, a lot of the big names you would know if you're a casual wrestling fan cost a lot of money to bring in. It is a primarily self-funded promotion on their first show.
For sure.
Didn't have that capital.
No, for sure.
but hopefully in the future, if we run something more, that can be something that'll bring us even more eyes. But yeah, just we're very excited to bring casual people in, and hopefully we introduce a lot of people to wrestling with this.
Yeah, and if you've never seen a death match in person, I'm definitely recommending you go check it out because you will leave like, what did I just see? Like, it's different. I couldn't do a whole card of them. By the end of it, I'd be like, but like to have one on the card and you see, you're like, so it's a little insane. Let me ask you guys last 3 questions really quickly. You did bring up the idea of like having some bigger names. Hypothetically, 5 shows down the road or something. One. If Black Hole Pro Wrestling keeps rocking, one person you'd love to have on a show, just personal preference, putting it out there, manifesting it, not saying it's going to happen, but if you could, someone that is available, so obviously not someone that's not available working for a bigger company, that'd be probably impossible to get, that you would love to have on the show.
I have a whole list, so this is a hard one for me. Do you have an answer there?
I'm going through my head because mine were a little out of reach off the hop.
Who would want to be out of reach, people? I'm curious.
Motor City Machine Guns.
Okay, yeah.
Which I think like a year and a half ago, that's a lot more on the table than it is now.
For sure, definitely.
Yeah.
And honestly, who knows? WWE's been a little like we've seen Natty at GCW. We've seen people at other places. Shinsuke's been back to nowhere a couple times. Yeah, Natty could actually maybe happen. Who knows?
The Alberta Queen. It kind of feels fitting to have her.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've noticed that that TJ's doing seminars around, so maybe there's something there.
Yeah, the seminars is a whole different story because you can get people that are signed to come do seminars. That's a different scenario, and if you're thinking about that,
we I know we reached out to many people, and so like as far as in ring, there's, I mean, I want Cardona here. I want unfortunately our date butts up against the TNA taping, so a lot of those people aren't available, but I'd love to have like a Santino Marella personally, because I think his character and mine could have a lot of fun. Or like I would love to have a PCO, the Good Brothers. There's a lot of people over in Japan that I'd like to see here. I would love to have a Brody King here. And then as far as legends, my big one that I'd like to see is Lita. I don't see Lita in Canada really ever, and I'd at some point love to be able to facilitate her being up here.
Do a little besties deal. Get Lita and Trish both out there.
Oh, brother, we got to wait more than 5 shows if we're doing that.
Fair enough. And then another thing I want to ask you. You guys brought it up earlier, and I was going to bring it up after that before I got into the whole alcohol 18+ thing. Photos and videos. You guys talked about how important it is to have photos and videos, and I think the one thing that you both said that I think you guys genuinely mean about like making sure the talent is treated right and they leave feeling like, man, like I want to come back there and work in. I had a great experience, and I got content out of it. Like it benefited me more than just being on the show and whatnot. Because I think a lot of companies, you go there, you work there, and you get no content out of it, and then they expect you to film your own content and have something there, and you're like, I came to the rest. I would have loved if someone like gave me some stuff I could post. That's always been an issue. I've heard that a ton, and I think both of you being talent, both of you being performers, obviously you as a wrestler and you as a musician, like you see it from that perspective more than someone that might have has money or came into money and says they're going to start a wrestling company. So you're coming from the perspective of people that have done that. What are you guys doing to make sure there's proper photos and videography then?
That is my world. I am a content whore at this point. I got to do a bunch of design work. I do work for promotions around here doing video and photo, so it is a kind of very familiar world. And I'm very fortunate to have a good team of people around me that are super willing to be a part of the show in any capacity, whether it be sitting at a hard cam the entire night, roaming and taking photos, doing B-roll footage, just getting anything and everything together. Because at the end of the day, too, if this is a one and done, and we can sit down in 20 years from now when neither of our backs work, Eli, and talk about this and go through this, like it's very reminiscent for us, but it is also content for all the talent that are coming in that are going to get the opportunity to showcase something completely different than they're going to be doing in any other promotion.
Now that you say that, the idea of like, we got some time, there's like a month until the show happens. It wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe like document this experience. Putting on this first show, I think there's something there, and then that's just extra content as well. And saying extra content leads me to that next question of like, if people can attend this show live, is there any possibility of them watching it somewhere else, whether it's live or after the fact, once it's done and produced and edited? Is there an opportunity for fans to be able to watch this after the fact or while it's live?
I don't know if we're going to be able to do live, and it's more just venue capabilities. The Wi-Fi in the room is shoddy at best. And I love that room to no end. Again, coming from music, that's an iconic venue in Edmonton here. But it's just not made for a live stream setup. But we absolutely are going to be sitting and cutting this together, and whether it be the full show or individual matches on YouTube, and obviously all the Instagram reels and TikToks are going to go out as well. I feel very weird talking about TikTok when I look like this, but we are committed to it.
Hey, the entity uses TikTok, everybody. Can you imagine him dancing? Okay, but go on.
Probably first show streaming live isn't going to happen outside of the Wi-Fi. There's a whole bunch of, there's a bunch of reasons that we want to, other things we want to focus on more than having a live stream going. And I think if we have a live stream going, we have to worry more then about live commentary as well. And it just feels much easier to make sure it's recorded well, and then we can put out the best images and video as we can, and hopefully quickly. Because again, I've been on the hook for someone who waited for 2.5 months for pictures and videos, and it's heartbreaking, or never even saw the footage of the match. And there were 4 people on cameras around the ring, so I don't know where it went.
There was a camera guy recently that works at a show here that would always take pictures of me, and like, oh, Justin, let me take pictures, and then I never get them. And then I'd ask him, he'd be like, oh, they just didn't make the cut. I'm like, oh, so you just like withhold the picture? Like, what if I like it? But go on.
And like having the good photos, having the good video, that if we're pumping it out, that's gonna look better for us. If we're pumping it out, that's featuring the talent that we're bringing in. Hopefully they're sharing it, because I know as a talent, it's very if you're working for a promotion and you have 3 shows in that weekend, sharing your match graphic, your talent announcement, that's very easy. The show poster is very easy. But then if you've got 3 other shows and you're trying to post your own content, plus maybe like your behind the scenes content, you don't want to be posting every single match graphic and every single clip that the companies you're working for put up. But if we're putting up, good footage of people regularly before, after the show, hopefully leading to the next show, if there is a next show, it's just so easy to hit share to story. And if it's your stuff, it's sweet. And if your friends see that, that's sweet. And if your fans see that and they share it, that's sweet. And it's a better look for us. It's a better look for everyone performing. And it's just going to be better. Like, maybe we'll get sweet pictures of fans and fans will share them. Right. It's just, I think having media is such an important thing in this day and age. And you can, like, I've been to promotions where online they look great, and you get there and you're like, what the fuck did I see?
I've talked to promoters back in the day that were like, I'm like, hey, like, are you gonna like post this anywhere for people to watch? And they're like, oh, like, we're on this like independent streaming service thing. And I'm like, well, if people aren't fans of the product already, why are they gonna pay to see it? Like,
And you know what? Get your bag. I understand, but I also we're very beginning stages. Like, I don't predict us going behind any paywalls anytime soon. It's much more important for me, for performers and fans, to be able to see our product than it is to make an extra couple $100.
No, for sure. And I just mean, like, it's just good to get that exposure as much as you can. And I think as the years have gone by, I'm talking about like I was big on like trying to help out the indies out here and going to Defy shows 2007. And I'm not talking about Defy; they've always done great with what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I was going to Defy shows a lot in 2017, 18, doing a bunch of stuff here in Vancouver. And those years pre-pandemic, and it was like, I think once again now everybody post-pandemic understands social media, understands YouTube, why it's beneficial. Pre-pandemic, it was a lot of me explaining it to people like, no, trust me. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, no, just let me post it or let do something, right? But it's cool that you guys will be on top of that. So that being said, where can people find you guys on social media?
If you look up Black Hole Pro Wrestling, pretty much on any social media, you should be able to find us. That is our handle on Instagram. Black Hole Pro _ is on Twitter. Black Hole Pro Wrestling on Facebook. We will have a YouTube page going up once we have footage of a show. And maybe, who knows, we might throw the TikTok up there, depending on how we're feeling, how froggy we feel.
Yeah. I just followed it on the ear. Wait there. See, look at that.
Hell yeah.
That's how quick it is, guys. You just search it up and you follow. That all being said, I want to ask you guys one last question and wrap things up. Once again, June 20th, Union Hall, Edmonton, guys. Black Hole Pro Wrestling, the main event. Walpy Terazep versus Lou Dark Shelton in a death match. I've never been to a death match. Check it out. There's a stacked card, like you mentioned. Alan Angels versus Elliot Tyler. There's a stacked roster of people that are going to be there. I don't know who the Short Kings are, but the fact that they're named the Short Kings, that pops me because fun stuff. I'm not even short, so it's not even like I'm relating to it.
They're lovely local guys, and they've been getting around more and more, so we're so stoked to have them featured.
I just immediately was like, oh, Short Kings, they must be entertaining. Like, that's how my brain like just goes immediately. And like, I'm really familiar with Taryn from accounting, Eliza Hall, KPK. These guys are all dope. These guys and girls, you should definitely check them all out. They'll be on the card. What do you want? One last question. Like, so for both of you, one by one, what is the one thing you're hoping everyone takes away from coming to Black Hole Pro Wrestling or checking it out after the fact?
From the talent, I want them to genuinely have this as the best indie show they've ever worked. I want the crowd to be raucous. I want everybody to have a good time. I want everybody to get paid properly and on time. Like, everything about everybody being taken care of is the penultimate move here. From the fans, I want people to see something they've never seen before. And, if they've never been to wrestling before, I want them to come back. I want them talking about this in 10 years, even if we're not around. Be like, you remember that one time?
Yeah.
That's going to be the stuff that's really going to make it cool.
Yeah. I was trying to think of what to say to people before the show if they had any questions about their match. And basically, the only thought I had is that after every match or at a certain point during a match, I want to be able to see or be able to say, fuck yeah, or Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah. No, for sure. You want to have a reaction after every match.
Yeah.
You want to feel like you saw something super
We
cool.
want to make people feel.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think you guys will do that. I think all the places you've taken influence from too have been really good at doing that as well. So I think you know what you want and how to do it. So, and it's just something different for the Edmonton scene, something different in the Alberta scene. Like I said, we've seen a little bit of a boom here in Vancouver. Toronto's been doing its thing, Ontario. It's time for Alberta to kind of step it up a bit. They'll get a little bit more consistent, get it out there a little bit more. Like I said, for me, like I've heard of a couple of companies, but I haven't seen a lot of it. Also, because I don't live there and I am not there. But like, I mean, it'd be cool to be like, I don't even need to be there, but I'm hearing about it and I see about it. And that's because that's what it's like for a lot of the notable independent companies across North America. Is like, I'm not at Destiny. I don't live in Ontario, but I hear about Destiny. I'm not in Seattle all the time anymore, but I hear about Defy and Prestige and everything in Oregon. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, I want to be like, I'm not there, but I hear about it, So like,
if you want to be here, we'll open the door for you.
Oh, no, for sure. If I can make it out there, don't worry. I'll definitely try my best. But guys, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Looking forward to Black Hole Pro Wrestling. Looking forward to see how everything plays out. Looking forward to watch it if I can't come there in post-production and see how it all turned out. It's just, I think it's going to be a really cool event for those of you out in Edmonton. Definitely check it out if you listen to me and you're in Edmonton. We'll see what happens with the Oilers, but maybe this could be a little post-celebration party at Black Hole Pro Wrestling. Or maybe like take your somber thoughts and go over there and grab a couple of brewskis and watch some wrestling to lighten your mood. But we'll see what happens.
If they do good, come have a beer. If they do bad, come have a beer.
Basically what I was trying to say. Yeah, basically what I was trying to say in like more layman terms there. That makes sense. Yeah. So I want to keep doing the thing. Follow Eli Surge on social media. Check out the entity. You'll learn more about him as Black Hole Pro. We get close to the date. I'm sure you'll be seeing more of the entity. Scary fellow over here. But you guys all keep doing the thing, and we'll see you all later. Thank you.